Guinness, the chair of the Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, September 10th at 5:30 with Nicole Shimoni and Brian Travis. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Are there any announcements? All right, seeing none. Any comments, suggestions, petitions by residents, taxpayers, and visitors in attendance regarding items that are not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, let's move to reports. Director's report on monthly financials.
Good evening. If we could start with page 2, please. So looking at the cash position report for the month of August 31st, 2025, we started the month with $28,912,362 in cash. We booked receipts of $2,861,516. We spent $2,196,921. This left us with an ending cash balance across all funds, restricted and unrestricted, of $29,576,957. Moving over to page 3, the due to, due from balances. As of August 31st, the balances are sitting at $765,484. This amount is a little bit larger than it was last month, and it's due mainly to the due from capital to the general fund of $685,039. And this is coming because we're trying to properly account for the capital expenses in the capital expense versus the general fund. The problem is the capital expense does not have any cash, so the general fund needs to front the capital fund for those expenses. The capital budget for 2025, the revenues are dependent mainly on grants, and we don't get the grant reimbursements until we've paid the invoice, provided proof of that payment. We provide a closeout report to the reporting agency, and then we wait another 60 to 90 days before those funds come in. So I'm hoping that this will be fully flushed out by year end, that we'll be able to transfer all the different funds from the different line items within the general fund to the capital fund, so that we'll be able to extinguish this big due to, due from, but I'm confident that we should have that resolved by year end. And just an update for the committee, we have submitted the reimbursement for the litter truck, the $200K. I don't have any good information on Hoops Park and VPP. I'm assuming those are in progress, but I can get more information for you in the next coming month. Moving over to pages 4 and 5, the budget to actual, the line item variances. Starting with revenues, prior year real estate taxes are doing very well. It's beating budget by $86,000. Interest income in the general fund is beating budget by $124,000, and interest income in the sewer fund is beating budget by $11,000. Now, the not so good news. We have some revenue line items that we are projecting will not meet budget for 2025, starting with the PHMIC refund. We had a budget of $200,000. We've received $145,000 through 8/31. I'm not sure if we're going to get the remaining $55,000. That's a question that we need to go to Benecon to review. But if we don't get that money, we may have to come before council in either October or November to request a transfer from the capital operating reserve to make up that revenue line item. We are projecting that we are not going to meet our district court violations in the police budget. We're projecting a budget shortfall of $100,000. We plan to make up that shortfall by using our fund balance. We will not make our building permits revenue line item of $600,000. We're projecting a budget shortfall of $285,000. And to be honest, when we put this budget together, we had a very big assumption in the budget that one of the big projects, the land development projects, would come online. And my guess is at this point in time, that's not going to happen. So we will make up that shortage by not using the third-party consultant's expense. We are projecting a $10,000 shortfall in sponsorship revenue in the recreation department. I'm hoping that this will be less, but I'm waiting on what happens with the restaurant festival in a couple weeks. In the wastewater fund, we are projecting a budget shortfall of $26,000 in the tap-in fees line item. And that's that's tied into the whole land development project thought. And then on parking, we are projecting a $300,000 shortage in the in the parking garage revenue. I think when we put this budget together for 2025, we were a little overzealous with the new parking company coming on, and we thought that we could make those revenues, but just dependent, it's what's coming in. I don't think we're going to make it. And we have made that correction in the 2026 budget. On the expense side, legal fees, employment is over budget by 13K. That is expected to climb through year end. And I just wanted to, again, reiterate in the liquid fuels fund, I am concerned about cash flows. As of 8/31, we had a cash balance of $256,000. We still have $55,000 left to pay on the paving project. Assuming that it's a somewhat okay winter for salt purchases, I'm assuming around 100K on that. So that only leaves us around $150,000 through April. So it's just something that we as a department are aware of, and that, we'll have to work with Public Works to make sure we have a plan in place for that. Are there any questions?
I have one regarding the estimate for the district court. I mean, that's all 500,000.
Yes.
Why is there any type of reasoning for that?
I think when we did the budget, again, we probably had a little bit higher numbers in there, and that income is just based on what is coming through from the courts. It seems as though one court we get a little bit more than the other. I don't have a real good explanation. Probably have to put some review into that and kind of come up, see if there's anything or any way that we can make up that shortage.
I do have one comment regarding the building permits, tap-in fees. I think that's something that we should probably lessen that amount for within the next year, maybe next year's budget, because we don't know. I mean,
We have made changes to that in
Right.
2026. I think.
Good, because I mean, we don't even know what with those properties,
Right.
when they're going to be developed, if.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, public comments? All right, seeing none, let's move to the item B, Finance Administration Department 2026 preliminary budget.
You okay? Okay. So if we start with page 2, please, looking at the staffing. So when I put this presentation together, I was kind of struggling with how we were going to account for the assistant borough manager position. I didn't want to double count for it in parking and in admin. So that's why you see 0.50. After discussing with Sean and Ramsey, we are going to account for this position in parking, and that will be part of the transfer from the parking fund to the general fund. So the head count for 2026 will be 8, and we are not proposing any changes to that number. Moving over to page 3, the revenue assumptions. This budget that you have before you tonight is very conservative, which is probably one of my biggest faults, is I don't like to push the boundaries too much, but this is our first pass, and I think it was better to be prudent with our numbers. So looking at the assumptions that we used, we did not make any changes to real estate taxes, so there's no increases in that line item. We took our assessed value times the millage rate, assumed a 2% early payment discount, and that's the number that we are using as of right now. We did increase EIT by 109K because we assumed that, EIT earners will most likely get pay raises from their employers, which will increase the money that we are getting in our account. I did increase the deed transfer line item by $100,000. That's based on our trends that we're seeing through 8/31, as well as the assumption that mortgage rates will most likely drop a little bit in 2026. So it makes buying homes a little bit better than what it is right now. And then we did increase our real estate certification fees by 22,000 based on those same assumptions that we had in place for the deed transfer tax. I did decrease the revenue line item for workers' comp reimbursement by $50,000 because I am not comfortable assuming a revenue for workplace injuries. I don't want our expenses to be based on a revenue that we may or may not meet. So that is something that we're going to talk about, and that may or may not be put back in here. So the budget that you have before you, if you turn to page 4, please. Our revenues, our operating revenues for 2026 are about 16.4 versus 2025 of 15.9. So it's about a 3% increase. Page 5 shows the transfer income revenue that we have booked for 2026. We have a little over 3.1 for 2026 versus 3.2 for 2025. Moving over to page 6, I'm looking at the expense assumptions. As I said on an earlier slide, we are not making any changes to our staffing. We did assume an 8.5% increase for health insurance premiums just based on what is happening with the ACA plans and everything that's happening in the news today. We did assume a 4% increase in our workers' comp rates based on contractual pay rate increases that we already have in place. I did not change the amount that we had budgeted for the Good Fellowship ambulance. In the 2025 budget, we had 167,510. When I put this presentation together, I didn't have any of the potential increase numbers, so I kept that as is. We are seeing a little savings on our debt service payments. This is coming directly from our amortization schedules. So we have a $60,000 decrease in debt service in the general fund. And our MMO for the non-union pension plan is decreasing for 2026. Overall, there's a $97,000 decrease, but we split that up between the general fund, sewer, and parking. So the general fund will see a decrease of $65,000. And the big ask that we have, which is new for 2026, is a $101,000 capital investment in a new accounting system. The accounting system that we use today is called MIP Fund Accounting. And this system has been in place since before I came to work here. So it's been in place for 22 plus years. And if you were to ask me what kind of system it is, I would tell you that it equates to using QuickBooks with an MS-DOS report builder function. So basically it's difficult to use and it's difficult to build good reports. And there's been some struggle with trying to do that. And a lot of times we can't get what we need out of the system. So we have to export that into Excel and try to manipulate as best as we can. The current system that we have has no good interface for the department heads. So the information that they're getting out of this system is basically 30 days plus older than that because it's dependent on when we get those reports to them after everything has been presented to you guys and published. There's no integration with any of the current systems that we have. So the accounting system does not integrate with SmartGov, Clover, MyRec, United Public Safety, Flash, Paylocity, Heartland, or Muni Billing. So all the entries we're doing manually. We're doing manual cash receipts, the journal entries, and that obviously equates to there's no real-time reporting. It's dependent on when we get that in, and we try to get it in as quickly as possible. But to be honest, a lot of times we're getting all of that information in by the end of the month so that we can get these reports published. There's no PO integration. So we are tracking all of our purchase orders in Excel and Teams, and it's very difficult to do that when you're not using one system. You have POs that are issued and then trying to track invoices that go against those POs. And then when those POs, go from year to year, it's becoming increasingly difficult. Our system does not allow for attachments of invoices or journal entry backup. So all of that is also housed in Teams. So if Sean runs a GL for, salary expense in the finance department and he sees journal entry for $25,000, he doesn't know what that's for. He's got to go back to a separate folder, try to go and find where the journal entry number is. So it makes it very difficult. And I think that our department is becoming increasingly sophisticated. We have a lot of revenues, a lot of expenses, a lot of transactions that we are, responsible for, and sort of reporting is only as good as what you get. And you have to have full faith in the department. You have to have trust that, we're being fully transparent, things are being booked properly. And I think, it's the right time. And hopefully with your support, we'll be able to make this, this is this is a lot of money to ask for. I'm aware that, there are budgetary constraints. I know there's a lot coming up in this budget. And I'll be the first one that if someone says, well, what can we pull back on? I'll be the first one to say that. But I also think it's important that if you're depending on us to do a good job and you're trying to trust us with things, we have to have the right tools to be able to do that.
Barbara,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Oh, with that being said, have you looked at other systems?
We have. So an RFP was sent out, and I think we got responses from 5 companies. We have looked at all of the responses. The cost is it varies. There's one that was, I think, around 287,000, and the one that we're looking for is around 100,000. That's just the integration to update the system. We are planning on eliminating Clover, which will help pay for this. We're going to eliminate Abilla, and we're going to eliminate Muni billing for tax and stream protection. So that's how we can justify the annual subscription cost.
Did you have a follow-up?
By eliminating those other programs.
So right now, we're estimating between $30,000 and $35,000, and the annual subscription cost on the program that we're looking at is around $32,000. So we feel that we are justified in making that change because we're not really adding to the overall budget. It's just the implementation fee that we're looking for 2026.
Thank you. Any questions, other questions?
I imagine there'd be a lot of time saving, especially since all those other financial feeds coming in to the system are all being done manually and probably with errors and probably double.
It makes me
work in
nervous.
cases when
I'm
you're
always
trying to
afraid
figure out
I'm
where
going to
the
miss
error-
something.
I understand exactly where you're coming from, but thank you for, I'm like, you're selling past the sale, but at the same time, I understand that
Yeah.
you're being very, money conscious, and it's our taxpayers that
Yes.
would be paying for this. But if it's eliminating errors and it's eliminating time and we're getting rid of some other systems, I think you make a really good case for now's the right time to upgrade. So thank you for taking us through all
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, my question was, is this the company that created the system we're using? Are they like out of business or something? Sounds like there's so many things that they don't do that. Do they have upgrades? Have we upgraded over the years?
We
or
have
what?
upgraded, and the only way that you can upgrade is you have to add additional modules. So it becomes, if you want to do fixed assets, that's an additional cost. If you want to run it through this way, and we have pieced that together, but it's just not where I think we need to be at this point in time. And the company, I believe, has just continually been bought out. So it's been one name and then it just changes and changes and changes. So.
Hopefully they survive.
Thank you. Is that it for the report?
If we could just go to the last page, I just wanted to go over the departmental goals. So we want to consolidate payment platform processors, and one of the big ways to do this obviously will be with this new system, but we want to work to reduce the banking and credit card fees as much as possible, and we want to be able to consolidate all of the different softwares that we have. So Parking is running on its own processor. We have SmartGov running on its own. MyRec is running on its own, Muni billing. So we're hoping that we can consolidate that, get a real good understanding of what we have in place, and then be able to save some money as well. We are going to continue our efforts to increase sewer receivables. So our goal is to try to reduce the outstanding sewer receivables down to as close to zero as possible. The sewer fund needs the money to pay for the aging infrastructure and the mandated updates that the DEP is requiring. And I am concerned about this fund. So it's our job to do everything we can to get anything that's due to the fund so that, you know, it can meet its debts. We are also going to focus on enhancing customer service. We want to make sure that anyone that's coming into our facilities has a good experience. If they want to come in and pay a tax bill, we're trying to make that as less confusing as possible. We want to be able to answer them professionally, politely, and patiently, and just make sure that it's a good experience for anyone coming in, and, you know, making sure that there's someone at our window from 8 to 4 and that they're responsive when people come in with questions and concerns. And then again, the last one is, you know, hopefully with your support, we will be able to implement that new system. Are there any other questions?
I just have a question about timing on some of these pretty large items. When are you thinking about, in terms of, you know, if we ended up getting a new accounting system, what's the implementation schedule look like? And is there any disruption along the way? And would we have?
So we would
help
have
doing
to
that?
run both systems at the
Okay.
same time. I would like to start this like as soon as possible in January to get it up and running, because I'm assuming it's probably going to be a 6 to 8 month process. And I want it to be completed for 2026 so that we have good numbers to give to the auditors at year end.
Any
Yeah.
other? Go ahead.
Yeah, follow up on that. The 100,000 is both for the system and the cost of the implementation. I'm assuming that like a consultant's going to come in and help you guys transfer.
Yeah,
all
that
that.
the 100,000 is the implementation fee. We've already baked in the software maintenance, the annual subscription into our software maintenance line item, and that's not going to change drastically because we are going to reduce Muni billing and Abila, and those total costs are around 35K.
Is the staff needed? I know we went through something similar with Uptown where we migrated systems and there was a whole conversation. There was staff needed to actually help move the data along with the consultant. The consultant can only do so much, but the staff had to fill out spreadsheets and do all of these things to get the data in the right table so the software could be migrated in the new system. Is there work that the staff's going to need to do to support this?
I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be some work we're going to have to do. You know, any salesperson is going to tell you that, oh, you just need to send us your chart of accounts and your data, and we'll, you know,
Yeah, it's magic.
up into
Yeah,
the
and it's
system.
not.
But
It's not.
you know, I am
So-
skeptical on that. So I am prepared that there is going to be work done on our end. So training and making sure that everything is in the right areas of where it needs to be. So yeah, I realize there's going to be some pain in it, but I think it's necessary. So thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment? Okay.
I'll have more to say next week, but Barb, you did a really good job of covering all the bases. I'm going to be talking next week about things that are moving the budget positively, negatively in the next year. Barb touched a little bit on the pension obligation. We don't have as much tailwind with reduction in pension MMO next year as we did prior year. We have a lot of costs going up on the capital side. So we really got to do some work on capital budgeting with our team to make sure everything's not front loaded next year. And we have a lot of escalating public safety costs coming in 2026. And so that's for the next meeting. So looking forward to talking with everybody next Tuesday.
Thank you. Item C, the Streamwater Protection 2026 preliminary budget.
Hi, I'm not Will Williams, but I am going to talk about stream protection for for the borough tonight. Great, thank you. We've only got a 4-slide presentation. Stream protection is one of those funds, one of those departments that has their stuff together, and it's a pretty simple budget to talk about. In stream protection, we collect money from a fee based upon the impervious cover of properties, and we convert those dollars into administration, some legal fees, and we are putting back 84 cents of every dollar of revenue back into capital projects and maintenance and debt service for capital projects we built 9 years ago. So 84 cents on the dollars going back into built projects. We don't have that kind of return in the rest of the borough because we have a lot more administrative overhead to pay for. So in that regard, I'm proud of how effective the stream protection program is. Something else I'm proud of and want to give kudos to Will and to Barb and to Carrie Foster as well is how the revenue has performed over the last couple of years, especially since 2020. That's a more reasonable amount of revenue that you should see coming in, around 1.2 million. We've been consistent. We had that jump in 2020 because we were telling people, hey, you actually do have to pay this fee or we're going to lien you. And that got everyone's attention. So we got a lot of past due payments in. It continued into 2021. And we've kind of retrained everyone to know that this is a fee that is paid annually. And we do follow up on unpaid fees. So we have not changed the fee structure since the program was initiated. Revenue is very predictable. We're doing better on interest, and I'll get to the grant revenue for us in a second here that we've budgeted. If we want to look at the next slide at the budget detail of expenditures, it's a pie chart here that reiterates what I said earlier. About $926,000 is going towards capital projects, things we have yet to build and things we built at program inception. And then stormwater infrastructure maintenance includes our contract with our BMP maintenance provider, our renewal and repair of in situ or in kind stormwater infrastructure. That's mostly pipelining and inlet replacements. We always like to do that work this time of year to see where we have landed, get through hurricane season, see where our problems are, have a contractor lined up through CoStars. And I think we got about $250,000 worth of work going out in the next four to 6 weeks on that in the borough as well. That's an example where that money goes. A little bit of money goes to street tree planting. Professional fees are mostly going to RVE to help us engineer these projects, do the preliminary engineering, not the preliminary engineering, pardon me, for bid docs, but for the concept engineering and for helping us explore ideas and for the MS4 permitting. The legal fees, your guess is as good as mine as to when the Supreme Court decision will come down and where that will land. I don't have a crystal ball, but that is a placeholder in our budget for next year for stream protection. And lastly, we're just going to talk about the one major stream protection project that's kicking off shortly. We do have the permit we've been waiting on from DEP to work in this waterway here in Taylor Run. It's behind the new medical office building on Hannum Avenue. There's actually a really good landscaping out front of this property. This property has really transformed a lot in the last couple of years, in my opinion, just driving by it. But it's going to transform further because we're going to do a sediment removal, invasive removal, and replanting the daylit stream that goes from east to west in that photograph. There is a club or social club right next door to that, I believe, right? What is it?
It's the street.
Across the street?
It's correct.
Tiny
It's a
social club.
church.
Okay. That's just where, just make that comment to orient everybody to where it is. So far, we've spent about $41,000 on design and engineering. The project was bid and awarded at $249,028. That's why, and this is grant funded through 2 grants. That's why you see on the grant revenue side, $250K budgeted as grant. We're going to soak up all of those grant and revenue dollars, put it towards this project next year. We actually, This was a strange bid. We had bids all over the place. We had 249, 340. We had about 7 or 8 contractors bid on this, and the high bid was 1.6 million. So I don't know why. I can't tell you why. It was just all over the place, but we got two consistent low bids, so I feel comfortable. And this contractor's on board. We're in contract execution right now. That takes about 2 weeks because the physical docs have to go between us and them, be signed, be bonded, and sent back. So we should be ready to go on this project in another week or so, and we'll start our public information process to let the neighbors know what's going on, when things will start, and when you might see big equipment behind that building working on this project. If we can get it planted before the ground freezes, that would make me very happy as a former landscaper. Nothing's more troublesome than trying to dig frozen soil. So that is the stream protection program in a nutshell, and budget for next year. No changes to revenue, and we have about $750,000 going towards future capital projects next year.
Sean, with that being said, you mentioned the Supreme Court decision, and say if it comes back not in favor of the borough, what's our plan B?
Well, it depends on what the Supreme Court orders, obviously. For the consideration of our budget, we've not budgeted on the revenue side, we're not budgeting tax exempt properties as a revenue, just to be on the safe side, should we lose. I'm optimistic, though.
I am too.
I think we've made a really good case. There's a lot of amicus briefs out there supporting our case across the Commonwealth. There's a lot of people watching it. There's a lot of they don't call them all stream, but stormwater fee programs in the Commonwealth that are ready to go. And they're all waiting for this decision to come down from the court. And I hope it goes our way. And I hope that you'll see all over the Commonwealth in Southeast PA, a lot of these projects really start to take off, because we need to do something about non-point source pollution and stormwater. Commonwealth can't keep making mandates about you have to meet this pollution reduction standard and not allow us to raise revenue to do it. It's an unfunded mandate without it. So that's my stump speech. I'll stop.
Thank you. Any other comment? Any public comment?
Just a quick question. Lisa Kearns, 300 block West Biddle Street. The residents along West Biddle Street, whose property backs up to that, have they been notified that that's going to happen? Can we do that? Would that make sense to do that?
But it certainly should be when we start. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I think that we may have been on the communication. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean.
All right, thank you. Let's move to old business here. Approve the August 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any objections? Any public comment? Okay, we can call that approved. New business. This is
I had one comment. There was one item that said it was tabled for this meeting, but we covered it in the special meeting. It was with respect to the joint agreement that we were going to put in place with West Goshen on reviewing the WCU master plan.
right.
So we took care of that item. That was
Thank you.
it.
Thank you for pointing that out. New business, a motion to approve the following requests here. CDW Barracuda Firewall Renewals, $11,034.72. That's a subscription for software for our buildings. Hewlett Packard lease servers, $15,816.76. It's an annual lease. Muni billing SPF software, $20,180. Plate Logic, $11,200. That is the annual LPL server. Batavio, $18,584.04. That was in a result of a 30-year-old burner that failed and new heat pumps. Univar soda ash, September 2025, $16,268.16. That's soda ash to treat the Taylor Run facility. Usalco 57, $15,280. That's phosphorus removal. And William S. Manley and Sons Chestnut Garage EV charging, $11,770. That's installation of a dual EV plug.
I just want to make one comment on the Batavio purchase order. So wastewater did get 3 quotes for this, and they want to go with the second lowest quote that they received, because the one that was the lowest wanted to put the heating things on the ground, and they wanted to make sure that that was above ground. So it's a price difference of $425.
Thank you. Any comments regarding these purchase requests? Any public comment? All right, seeing none, we could consider that motion approved. Item B, discuss borough-related groups paying vendors, contractors invoices for repairs. And I believe this had to do with the Marshall Square Park, and there was an accident there, and we paid, or Friends of Marshall Square Park paid that, and then we reimbursed them.
So we put together a timeline of the events of when this occurred and when we were notified. As you can see, that the accident occurred in March, and we weren't notified of it until April. Then there was communication between Don Edwards and the Friends Park, which occurred from April through July, about, when the repairs were going to be made and who was paying for who. And then we issued the first purchase order in August, and then that there sort of was some miscommunication between who was paying for what. And last month we came before council with the revised PO to reimburse the Friends of Marshall Square Park because they were paying for those for the charges for this accident. I think the bottom line is that, the department heads are responsible for managing these outside groups. They have to be reminded that they need to follow the proper purchasing policy requirements, and that they can't be making these outside decisions without the department head being aware. And we need to follow the proper chain. I'm not sure if you want to add anything more to that, Sean.
Just want to make clear too, when we're talking about borough-owned property, regardless of whether it's a park with an active friends group or any piece of borough property, that it's the borough's responsibility, the borough's decision to order work be done. So any work that has to be done, that is done in the borough, needs borough approval. This was a accident that happened. If you remember, there was a fuel truck that was going down on the western side of Marshall Square Park, and completely at fault of the driver, collided with some parked cars, went through the fence into the park area where there's playground equipment. I'm just thankful no one was hurt. When you look at the pictures from this, it was probably a 10, 12 ton truck filled with heating oil that went into the park at a pretty good speed to go as far as it did. And secondly, that we were very lucky there was nothing more than a little bit of a spill that I think, if you know this about old trucks do leak a little bit here and there. But we were lucky we had no major fuel leak too, because that truck was carrying, hundreds of gallons of heating oil. So the worst didn't happen here, but then we began the claims process about 4 weeks after the accident, knowing that the driver was at fault in this and that we would be pursuing reimbursement from the driver company's insurance, which is what we did in the end, which is why this process took as long as it did. And we do need to be clear about communicating about who's paying for what. I would have rather we paid for it since it's our park. And the claim check would be coming to the borough. That would have just cut out the Friends of group from the transaction. But I believe both parties have been made whole. The claim payment from the insurance company covered all of the costs we incurred to repair the park to its state of repair.
Can I ask a couple questions? Okay, first question I have is, am I reading this correctly that the accident happened on March and we didn't know about it? Like whose administration? I'm assuming the borough knew that this accident happened before a month later, no? What
Knew
happened?
the accident happened. I think that's probably the marker of when we reported it to our insurance people, knowing that the driver was at fault in this case. We had the police report. We knew the accident happened the day
Okay,
it
wait.
happened.
We might want to update.
We didn't
the
find out about it
timeline.
4 weeks later and like, oh my gosh.
That's what
truck doing it
I'm
up
like,
there?
Keith, what are you doing? Okay, all right. So that's like, maybe it needed to be reworded. So we reported it to insurance. All right, who ordered the work to be done? The borough or the Friends of people? Because I'm confused how if the borough ordered the work that the Friends of got the bill. So it almost sounds to me like the Friends of decided to order work outside of the borough. And my thought would be is if they do that, maybe the hard line so that they don't do that again is don't pay them back, right? Like, just say if you got to let the borough handle it, borough property. And if you don't want to let the borough handle it, then yeah, maybe it's as simple as that. Patrick?
Patrick McCoy, 131 East Marshall. So I'm familiar with this, and I think maybe the nuance in this is that Friends of Marshall Square Park had completed the year before the new fence and all the landscaping where all of this occurred. The tree damage, that was a little different because that was existing. So Friends of Marshall Square Park paid for obviously all that landscaping that was done and the fence. So I think, they, having that fence replaced and all the landscaping repaired, I guess we're thinking, well, we paid for it. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm
But
just
they thought
sort
maybe
of
that they owned
saying
it
what the
because
nuance in this
they
particular case is.
they installed it, that maybe they had ownership of being able to repair it or
Well, that's a good
something like
question. I
that.
mean, who does? I
Mm.
mean, the borough owns it. If they installed it on borough property, I'm assuming the borough owns it. So anyway, just wanted to point out that little bit of nuance.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question about what the claim was actually for. Like, what did it cover? Did it cover the fence? Was there anything else included in this claim?
Covered the trees, covered some of the grass, and it covered the repairs to some of the flora and fauna. So we got everything back. You didn't have to pay a deductible or anything. The only problem was this, it took forever for the insurance company to respond to us. And I still to this day, I don't know why, because obviously it was their fault, but they would not respond to us.
Yeah, that was Shipley Energy's
Correct.
insurance was being slow to respond to
Very
us.
slow.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
I remember.
respond to us at all.
That sounds about right for an insurance company. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
I was getting very worried. I felt we're gonna have to take them to court, but luckily they finally responded. So I was happy and they paid everything, all the damages.
It was like a very one-off kind of situation that probably doesn't it's not going to happen again in that same spot. And the Friends of probably know how to handle it next time. And I appreciate you taking us through the timing and the situation.
We will be proactive and let them know. We'll immediately call them and let them know what the process is and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Thank you. With that, do they know that now? Do these groups know that now? Has there been any communication to avoid?
Communicated.
Thank you. I-
So we have a little bit of good news on the 2026 MMO. The total for across the non-union, the defined contribution and the police is a reduction of about $20,000 from the prior year. The non-uniform went down by 97,000. The defined contribution plan went up by 15,000 and the police went up by 62,000. So there is a slight reduction, some increases in two plans and a reduction in the other. And this is required to be reported to the administering body by September 30th so that we can include it in the 2026 budget.
Want this on the record that this is going to be a moment where I'm the pessimist and conservative one between me and Barb. And I just want to remark that we are not getting as much of a reduction between 25 and 26 as we did between 24 and 5. So the MMO went down $415,000 during last year's budget season coming into this year, which was a really nice tailwind into making revenue and expenses meet up. We're only getting $20,000 of assistance now. Good news as well is our state aid formula went up. What was it, Barb? 6 or 7%? It was an unusually high number. We got an email yesterday about that. 6%. So that is a formula spread across the Commonwealth that the Commonwealth sends money to qualifying municipalities that have qualifying pensions to help pay for pensions. And that contribution is going to go up a pretty good amount next year. So some good news, but again, I'll talk about this more next week. This is not going to be a big driver, a big savior of our budget for going into 26, like it was last year.
Thank you. Any further comments regarding item C?
Let me ask the question why. What's the difference between this year and last year?
I could get you a more detailed answer from our plan actuary, but the overall, it's not a linear reduction year over year. We are headed towards lower and lower MMO payments because we're making additional payments above and beyond the MMO year over year with the extra EIT revenue that we garner for this. The funds have performed very well. We've reduced our operating
Fees and expenses.
fees and expenses. Thank you very much. And the trend is heading in the right direction. It's just not going to be linear. We got $400,000 of relief last year. We're only getting 20 this year. The MMOs are determined from a biannual report that gets sent to Pennsylvania. So expect minimal relief next year as well. And then we get another reset. We get another reset every 2 years.
Any public comment regarding item C? Any objection to approving the motion? Okay, 3-0. Any other business? Other business? Motion to adjourn, 6:19. Thank you, everyone.